yesterday that the Supreme Court was making the Judiciary Commission re-investigate what happened to Mr. Jacob Carter after his family appeal. What was your first reaction to see that the Supreme Court actually stepped in?
You know, to answer your question, I mean, it's nice. It's very nice to see that this isn't just going away. We have a continuing problem in juvenile court. It's not over. It's not yesterday's problem. It's not last year's problem. And unfortunately, we're not just outsiders giving an opinion. We get phone calls regularly. We have to answer and we have to help and we have to dig and we have to find the information. A month ago, we're dealing with a shooting in the city of New Orleans by a juvenile wearing an ankle monitor. Nobody can figure out who's watching this person. And it's a taxpayer-funded city-run program. I need to be very, very clear. The adult program in New Orleans, which I run, is not the same thing as the juvenile program run by the city of New Orleans. The city of New Orleans continues to have the same exact problems in juvenile court. If they would just follow the way we do it in adult court, the problem would end. It would end immediately. And that doesn't mean I have to supervise people. It just means that they have to do it the same way. So it's a good thing. I'm happy to see this investigation.
You talked to me a little, and I did watch Senator Morris's actual sit down with Senate Bill 123. If this happens, it's not that the senators didn't already have it's not that they weren't already able to do it. It's just that this adds another, because we see these judges make so many mistakes. So that bill would add another additional layer. Can we get your thoughts on that bill?
Yes, listen, there's more than just that bill. We have House Bill 955, and we also have House Bill 123. And those two bills combined with the amendments that were just added will absolutely solve 100% of the problems that we have, not just in New Orleans, but in Louisiana and across the entire country. The problem that plagues every electronic monitoring program except New Orleans adult court is the lack of ability to determine if the offender's doing right or wrong, if the provider's doing right or wrong, or if the judge is doing right or wrong. Orleans adult court has the ability to determine all three. So do you in the media. So does any law enforcement entity that wants to investigate either a provider or a judge. We have to assume the person wearing the electronic monitoring device will do wrong. If the system works, you can correct it. If the system doesn't work, you're encouraging these problems. And Jill and I constantly have to answer questions, helping law enforcement solve crimes that are done by people wearing unsupervised electronic monitoring devices. And the only current problem inside the city of New Orleans is the city-run, taxpayer-funded juvenile program. They need to look at it. They need to look at it closely. This isn't, like I just said at the beginning, this isn't last year's problem. Last month, we had a shooting by a juvenile wearing an electronic monitoring device ordered by Orleans Juvenile Court. The battery was dead for 4 days. That is a crime that provider did not report that. That is a travesty that the judge did nothing. And now we had somebody shot multiple times.
Again, we've never seen the Supreme Court do something like this, but if findings come out that these judges were liable for what happened, what do you think happens next? Do you think judges will be more careful?
It's not as simple as just saying that the judges were liable. We have to understand, we created a series of laws that eliminated the deterrence. There's no jail space for juvenile. We created a series of laws that created an iron curtain and no one could see anything about these cases. Then we hired judges that are doing things that there's no oversight. There's no transparency. You couldn't see it. And it wasn't until they changed the laws in the last session or two that we've actually been able to go back and review many of these juvenile cases. And now you can see the facts. You see people that have been multiple offender juveniles that are terrible. Noah Hansard is somebody I know personally. He's a wonderful young man. He was shot by somebody that had a footprint as big as the city. There was no way they could miss this. The only reason you didn't see it is because we built an iron curtain with the way we passed legislation that hid so much of the juvenile issue. We have to build back jail space. You have to properly use electronic monitoring. It's not something, electronic monitoring is a great tool, but it must be used properly. And the way to use it is in a way that you can tell not only is the offender doing what they're supposed to do, but is the provider doing what they're supposed to do. And even more importantly, is the judge doing it. With this process in place in Orleans Adult Court, we have judges that take it very serious. If this process was in place in juvenile court, these judges would have to take it serious or they are exposed. That's why you have a big, that's very nice to see this investigation, but we have to see changes to the state law that allow us to continue to have oversight over these judges, even in juvenile court. You disappeared.
Anything you would like to add that I may not have touched on?
No, again, it's not just the Senate Bill 123. That is a very important bill. It's a victims bill, but there are some electronic monitoring bills that we are working on that will add. It'll take what we've done correct in adult court in New Orleans and make it mandatory across to all courts in Louisiana, and that's the true answer. Nope, you're muted.
I keep muting it so it won't jump back. Can you tell
Gotcha.
me those bills one more time?
Yeah,
So I can.
you have House Bill 123, and
One,
then
two.
you
Okay,
also have
gotcha.
House Bill 955 by Tim Kerner.
By Tim, by
Yep.
Tim Kerner.
Yep, Tim Kerner. The House Bill 123 has to do with a lot of the regulation of the way the courts and everybody's going to communicate back and forth. House Bill 955 has to do with licensing and regulation of the providers themselves and making sure that everybody knows who these providers are. It's not just a provider problem. It is a judge problem, but it's not just a judge problem. It is a provider problem. And those
So,
two bills solve it.
so everybody has to work together to ensure that it all works
It's not
correctly.
a matter of
If
working
I'm
together. It's nothing like that works. It's a matter of having software in place that makes it impossible to do otherwise. If with the ability to look and see, is the provider doing their job? Is the judge
Mhm.
doing their job? And have the facts in front of you. That's the key. Again, I would tell you to go to asapgps.org,
Mhm.
asapgps.org. There is a program that is a program called the Offender Management System. It is unique to Orleans Parish. We developed this software. We gave it to our community for free. This is where anybody that's enrolled in electronic monitoring in adult court can be found. This is what law enforcement uses. This is what DAs use, even defense lawyers use to be able to show the actions of the person enrolled. With this software, you can determine if the provider's doing their job. And because this software interacts with the judge gets instant notification. Now you can determine if the judge is doing their job. This software is credited by Jason Williams with solving the I-10 Lundy-Graw murder committed by Tyree Quinn, who is now convicted. Oh, the first ever person convicted based solely on this type of data. That was a very important case. Nicholas Mirana is another case that's ongoing in the
Recording
court.
stopped.
No, I'm listening to you. If
That's
my
good.
computer dies,
No, you're good.
it's just
Well, Nicholas
um.
Mirana is another case that is accredited with this software being the answer. And what it does is it removes all questions. If you go there, you can personally go to public view and just look. You can see alphabetical listing of every single person ever enrolled. And that's a real-time system that gives everybody what they need to make sure everybody's doing their job.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis, for always being willing to talk to me. Hopefully, Juvenile can get with the program. And
Look,
hopefully
we'll
this is
get it.
one
We're going to
step.
get it done. So it's going to happen. This is all part of the bigger wheel that's turning. And this investigation is important, and it's a long time coming. And just so you understand, we actually are the people that introduced Mr. Carter's family to the state, because they came to us 2 years ago after this killing,
Right.
that because a state rep sent them to us because nobody knew how to give these people the answer. And we've been working with this family ever since, trying to make sure they stay informed. So I'm glad to see we're finally getting somewhere.
Glad to hear that too. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to be a long legislative period, and we'll just have to really see what happens for sure.
This is an important thing. The Supreme Court
Mhm.
investigation has nothing to do with the legislative process. This is
Okay.
important on its own. So the legislative process will give some teeth to the future when it comes to doing it right. So we're there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dennis.
Thank you.
Always have a great day.
All right. Bye bye.